Please wait for just a second. Before you keep moving past this, I really need you to listen to something that most men never get the chance to hear. For a long time now, you might have been reading the signals all wrong. It is not because you aren't a smart person or because you aren't paying attention. It is simply because nobody ever sat you down and taught you how women actually show they are interested in you. This one small blind spot has likely cost you much more than you even realize. I want you to stay with me for a bit because in the next several minutes, I am going to show you exactly what you have been missing this whole time. By the time we finish our conversation today, you are going to understand 8 very specific signs that show a woman is deeply attracted to you, even when she acts like she isn't. And I am going to share something even more important than that. I am going to explain why the men who are actually the most attractive are often the very last ones to figure it out. But first, I want to ask you something heart to heart. Have you ever walked into a room full of people and felt like you were completely invisible? Have you ever gone home and played a conversation over and over in your head, wondering if she was actually interested in you, or if you were just making it up in your mind? Have you ever caught yourself feeling like maybe you are just not that kind of guy? If you have felt this way, I want you to take a deep, slow breath right now. What you are about to hear might completely change the way you look at the last few years of your life. It turns out that the men who doubt themselves the most are often the very men that women feel most drawn to. It isn't because of a big ego or just how they look. It is because of something called presence, and we are going to talk about exactly what that means. Here is a truth most men were never told when they were growing up. Women feel attraction in a way that is totally different from how men feel it. For men, attraction is like a push forward. You see someone you like, and your brain says you want to go talk to her. It is a straight line. But for women, attraction is more like a quiet awareness. First, she thinks to herself whether you even notice that she is there. She tries to feel your energy and your mood before she decides what her next move will be. She watches from a distance. She moves herself closer to you. She gives off little signals. She does not usually just come out and say it. She sends signs. And if you have been sitting around waiting for her to be super bold and chase you, or make it perfectly clear that she likes you, then you have been playing a game that was never meant to work that way. So here is our plan for today. I am going to walk you through 8 powerful signs that you are a very attractive man, even if you have been doubting yourself for many years. As we talk about each one, I want you to be very honest with yourself. Don't look at this from a place of pride or from a place of feeling bad about yourself. Just look at it with open eyes. And I want you to pay close attention because something very important happens around the 5th sign. Most of the men we talk to in our community say that something deep inside them starts to shift when they hear that one. So keep listening, because that same shift might happen for you too. The first sign is eye contact that lingers. This is the most common sign in the whole world, yet it is the one that men miss all the time. Here is how it usually looks. You are somewhere totally normal, maybe a local coffee shop where the smell of roasted beans is in the air, or at the gym, or maybe at a meeting for work. You look up and your eyes happen to meet hers. Now, normally when 2 strangers look at each other, they look away very quickly because it feels a little bit awkward. But in this case, she holds your gaze for just a tiny bit longer than she really needs to. It is like a tiny pause, a small moment in time, and then she looks away. Most men think that moment didn't mean anything, but in the way our brains work, that extra second is a very big deal. People who study how humans communicate without talking have found that when we look at someone for a longer time, it wakes up our emotions. It makes us feel a sense of closeness. It is a signal that she has officially put you on her radar. We simply do not keep looking at people who don't interest us. Our bodies are very careful about where we spend that kind of energy. And here is the part most men never even notice. She will look back again. That second look is not an accident. It is her confirming what she felt. Think about how you act. When you aren't interested in something, you barely even see it. But when something catches your eye, you look twice. You check to make sure what you felt was real. She is doing the exact same thing. The first look is just her being curious. The second look is her being brave. She is quietly asking the question whether you noticed her. And being confident in that moment isn't about staring back at her in a hard way. It is just about being steady and calm, maybe giving a very small, warm smile. If this has happened to you, it means you are definitely not invisible. The second sign is being close to you. Attractive men have a kind of pull, almost like gravity. You might start to notice that women seem to stand near you more often. Maybe they join a group of people you are already talking to, or they pick the seat right next to yours, even when there are plenty of other chairs open in the room. This is not just a lucky break. It is her choosing where to be. Women very rarely chase a man in a direct way, but they are experts at creating a chance for something to happen. From a science point of view, being physically close to someone makes it much easier to form a bond. There have been studies on something called the mere exposure effect. This basically means that just being in the same space as someone else builds a good feeling in our minds. She is making it more likely that the two of you will talk. She is placing herself right in your field of vision. I once knew a man in his early 60s who felt like nobody ever noticed him anymore. At a place he visited often, the same woman had sat down right next to him 3 different times. He just thought it was a coincidence, but it wasn't. The very moment he stopped doubting himself and started actually noticing what was happening, his whole world changed. He started talking to her with a calm, quiet kind of strength. Your energy has a way of pulling people in, and when you become aware of it, you can respond to it. The third sign is that people really listen when you speak. Have you ever been in a room and noticed that other conversations seem to get quiet when you start to talk? Have you ever seen people actually turn their whole bodies toward you while you are speaking? That is what we call presence. And having presence is one of the most powerful forms of being attractive that no one talks about. People who study the mind call this the halo effect. This means that when we think someone has high value, we naturally give them our attention and we want them to like us. This becomes even more powerful as you get older, in your 40s, 50s, or 60s. Being young is loud, but being mature is like a deep sound that stays with you. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to lead it. You just need to be solid, like an anchor. Try doing this. Slow down your talking just a little bit. Use a deeper tone in your voice. Take a purposeful pause before you give an answer. Silence actually makes people pay more attention to you. If you have ever felt that quiet kind of power, where you don't have to beg for attention, but people give it to you anyway, then you already have that magnetic pull. Now, just a quick reminder. If you are finding this helpful, please join our community. Every single week, we sit down to talk about how attraction works, how to be a strong man, and how to truly have a great life as you get older. The fourth sign is mirroring your moves. This sign is very quiet, but it tells you a lot about what is going on. Mirroring is what happens when someone else starts to copy your body language without even thinking about it. If you lean back in your chair, she leans back too. If you start to talk a little slower, she starts to talk at that same speed. If you touch your face, she might do the same thing a few moments later. She isn't trying to make fun of you. This is her body and yours getting on the same page. When we feel safe with someone and we like them, our bodies start to move in the same rhythm. There are special parts of the brain called mirror neurons that start working when we see someone we feel a connection with. It is a natural way of building a friendship. If you see a woman matching your movements or your speed, her body is basically saying that she feels safe with you. And feeling safe is the very first step toward wanting to be closer, especially for women. Here is a little trick you can try. Very quietly, copy one small thing about how she is sitting after you have been talking for a while. Don't make it obvious, just a tiny adjustment. You will see how much faster the connection between you grows. Attraction is almost never loud. It happens in layers, and it happens through energy. Now we are getting into a part that goes much deeper than just body language. The fifth sign often surprises men the most because it sounds like a simple, nice thing to say, but it is actually much more powerful than that. This sign is compliments that go deep. If a woman tells you that you look nice today, that is just on the surface. We all make quick judgments about how people look in just a few seconds. But when she says things like, she really likes your vibe, or that she feels so relaxed when she is around you, or that there is just something different about you, that is a much bigger signal. She isn't just talking about your clothes or your face. She is talking about your presence. Science shows us that feeling emotionally safe and seeing someone be their real self are the 2 biggest things that keep people attracted for a long time. When a woman tells you she feels comfortable with you, she is saying that her whole body and mind can finally relax when you are there. That is a kind of magnetic power that most men don't realize they have. I remember working with a man in his late 50s. He was a widower, a very quiet man who didn't like to show off or be loud. But women kept telling him that he was so easy to talk to. He thought they were just being polite to him, but they weren't. He was a great listener who didn't feel like he had to impress anyone. He didn't rush to fill up the quiet parts of a conversation. His calm way of being created a feeling of safety that women don't find very often. He thought he was just an average guy, but to them, he was a steady rock. There is a huge difference. The next time someone says something nice about your mood, your steadiness, or your energy, don't just brush it off. Just say thank you and that it means a lot to you. Your confidence grows when you stop pushing away the nice things people say. The sixth sign is when you catch people looking at you. This is when you notice people glancing at you over and over. You see quick looks or you make eye contact from across a room more than once. Here is the reason why this happens. Human beings are built to look around their world and find people who seem important or interesting. We naturally notice people who stand out because of the way they stand, how calm they are, or their overall energy. It isn't about having a perfect body, it is about how you carry yourself. When you walk into a place and the talking changes just a little bit, or when someone looks at you and then looks away fast when you see them, that is a sign of respect. Many men miss this because they are looking for something super obvious, like a flashing light. But attraction usually shows up in how people track you with their eyes. Here is something you can do today. The next time you walk into a public place, don't look down at your phone or at the floor. Keep your shoulders loose, your chin level, and take slow, steady steps. Let your eyes move calmly across the room. Then, just watch. You might be very surprised by how often you catch someone else looking back at you. Now, we are about to talk about two signs that happen completely under the surface. The seventh sign actually has nothing to do with women at all, but it is one of the strongest signs of being attractive that exists. The seventh sign is how other men treat you. This one is very important because women pay a lot of attention to how men interact with each other. Men are naturally built to figure out where everyone stands in a group. It is something very old and deep inside us. The way other men act around you sends a message to women that no amount of fancy clothes or smooth talking can ever match. Signs that other men respect you look like this. They don't talk over you when you are speaking. They ask for your thoughts on things. They introduce you to their friends in a positive way. They show you a little bit of extra respect in small ways. On the other hand, signs that men feel they have to compete with you look different. They might try to one-up you, or suddenly try to be the boss of the room when a woman walks in. They might give you backhanded compliments that are actually a bit mean, or make jokes to put you down. Both of these reactions mean you have high value. Respect means they see your worth. Competition means they see you as a threat to them. People who study how humans have changed over time say that social proof is a huge part of attraction. When other men treat you like you are important, women see that and they take note of it automatically. And here's the most vital part. The most attractive men don't have to fight to be the boss. They just are. True confidence doesn't make things louder, it makes things more stable. When you are in a group, do you start getting louder to prove you are important? Or do you stay calm and grounded? If men respond to you with either respect or competition, it means you are a person of value, and women are definitely watching that. The eighth sign is when people assume you have options. You might hear people say things like, they can't believe you are still single, or they are sure you have plenty of women messaging you. Sometimes they might say you probably say that to all the girls. These kinds of comments usually happen very early on, before you even talk about being serious. Why does this happen? It is because you don't act desperate. Feeling desperate has a very specific vibe that people can sense. It shows up when a man texts too much, explains himself too much, or is always looking for someone to tell him he is doing a good job. But having abundance energy looks very different. It is calm and patient. It doesn't try to rush things. It doesn't hold on too tight. Women are very good at sensing whether a man feels like he has plenty of choices or if he feels like he has none. It isn't a logical thing they think about. It is an energy they feel. If she can tell that you are okay whether she chooses you or not, she will see you as a man of higher value. And here's the funny part. You might not actually have a lot of different women interested in you right now. But if you carry yourself like a man who could have options, people will just assume that you do. How people see you changes what becomes real. When women believe that you are wanted by others, they become much more curious about you. So let me ask you a very direct question. Do you act like a man who is happy just to get any little scrap of attention? Or do you act like a man who chooses his path very carefully? That one question can change everything about how you interact with people. Now I want you to stop for a moment. If you noticed even 2 or 3 of these signs in your own life, you are probably much more attractive than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. The problem is usually not how you look. The problem is whether or not you own that fact. And I want you to stay with me for this last part because we are going to go even deeper. We are going to talk about why your brain actually works to hide the evidence of your own attractiveness and what you can do to fix it. This is where the real change happens. Here is a strange thing I have seen after many years of studying how people behave. The men who are truly attractive are often the ones who know it the least. Why is that? It is because most men were taught to judge themselves only by the big, clear results. Did she say yes to a date? Did she text me back? Did she make it super obvious that she likes me? If the answer wasn't a clear yes, you probably thought you failed. But a woman's attraction doesn't work like a score in a sports game. It works more like a slow-moving river. It is quiet, it reacts to you, and it is all about energy. And if you were raised to only look for the big, loud things, you might have been surrounded by people who really liked you without ever even knowing it. Let me tell you about a man I will call Daniel. He is 64 years old and has been divorced for 7 years. He was completely sure that women just weren't interested in him anymore. He told me he felt like he was just background noise in a room. But when we actually sat down and looked at what was happening in his life, we saw a totally different story. Women at his gym were always picking the machines right next to him. A woman who made his coffee remembered his name and would lean in close when she spoke to him. At community meetings, women would laugh easily at his jokes and ask him more questions to keep the talk going. He ignored all of it because he thought they were just being nice. He was waiting for a woman to come up and chase him in a way he couldn't miss. What he didn't realize was that his calm way of acting, his thoughtful way of speaking, and his steady eye contact were very magnetic. But because he didn't feel attractive on the inside, his brain blocked out every sign from the outside. This is called confirmation bias. Your brain looks for things that prove what you already believe, and it ignores anything that says you are wrong. If you believe you aren't attractive, you will quite literally not see the signs that you are. So the work you need to do now isn't about your face or your age. It isn't about learning cheesy lines to say to women. The work is happening inside of you. And here is the most important thing I will say today. Who you think you are can be updated. It doesn't take being arrogant, it just takes being aware. Let me show you exactly how to do that. At the end of every day this week, I want you to write down just one moment where you got a positive reaction from someone else. It could be a smile, a long look, someone leaning toward you while you talked, or just a nice interaction with a stranger. Don't try to figure out what it meant. Don't tell yourself it was nothing. Just write it down. Over time, your brain will start to see that the old things you believed about yourself aren't true. You are literally building new paths in your brain, and your identity will start to change. Before you go into any place where there are people, take 3 slow, deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for 4. Then let it out very slowly for a count of 6. Let your jaw go loose. Let your shoulders drop. This simple thing tells your body that you are safe. When you are calm, your presence changes. People can feel that peace before you even say a single word. Think about 3 times in your life when a woman clearly liked you, even if it didn't turn into a long relationship. Write those times down. Now ask yourself how you were acting back then. Were you relaxed? Were you just focused on what you were doing? Were you not trying too hard to make people like you? Attraction is strongest when you are just being yourself, without constantly checking to see if you are doing it right. That version of you is the one people really respond to. Now I want to bring everything together. Noticing attraction is one thing, but living it is something completely different. There is one final change in how you think that will change everything about your life. When you stop asking yourself if you are attractive, you start asking a much better question. Instead of thinking you hope she likes you, you start thinking about whether she is the kind of person you actually want to be around. That one shift changes the balance of power. When a man is deciding if someone is right for him instead of just begging for them to like him, his energy becomes very steady. There is no more grabbing for attention or feeling like you need something right now. You just have a calm curiosity. This invites a woman's energy to open up to you. Being selective is attractive. Having high standards for yourself is attractive. Desperation disappears when you start to value yourself more. Let me paint a picture for you. You walk into a room, your shoulders are relaxed, and your eyes are steady. You aren't looking around like you are searching for something. You are just aware of where you are. You say hello to the person in charge. You have one real good conversation. You laugh when something is actually funny. You leave the conversation when it's time instead of hanging around too long. Across the room, a woman notices you. She can feel how calm you are. She can tell you don't need anything from her. She sees how other men treat you with respect. She sees that you aren't chasing anyone. And slowly, quietly, she moves herself a little bit closer to you. This is how attraction really works. It isn't like fireworks or big, loud scenes. It happens quietly, bit by bit, with a lot of power. And you will miss the whole thing if you are still looking for something loud and obvious. Before we finish, I want you to ask yourself one last thing. If you truly believed deep down that you were an attractive man, not just how you look, but your whole energy, how would you act differently tomorrow? Would you be more calm? Would you look people in the eye for just 1 second longer? Would you stop worrying so much about every little thing you said? That change can start right this second. Attraction isn't something you go out and catch. It is something you carry inside you. Once you realize that, you stop wondering where you fit in. You just stand where you are, and the right woman will feel that strength. If this talk helped you today, please hit that subscribe button and help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support means everything to me and allows me to keep creating content that truly helps men understand themselves better and build the confidence they deserve. Don't do it for a computer program. Do it as a signal to yourself that you are ready to see the world in a new way. And hit the bell so we can keep talking. Every week we go deep into things like feelings, being a strong man, and what it means to really have a good life. Leave a comment below and tell me which of these 8 signs you have seen in your life. Was it the eye contact, the way people move closer to you, or how the room gets quiet when you speak? Or maybe it's that people assume you already have a lot of options. I read every single comment because your story might be exactly what another man needs to read today to help him feel better. Thank you for being here with me today, and I truly appreciate you taking this journey toward becoming the best version of yourself. Please subscribe now, and let's continue growing together.